Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate the time and the effort that everyone is putting into the work. Thank you very much, Nigerians. Appreciate the time and the effort. Thank you very much. Well, this morning we have various videos to actually show to Nigerians based on the happenings in the country, and we just want everyone to really understand that a lot is happening in Nigeria, and based on the current situation, things are basically, getting better. But we hope that one day the nation will be rescued and the people will be delivered, and people will have peace of mind, joy, as it ought to be for a nation. Currently, nothing good is coming out. Nothing is looking good, but we hope that one day things will get better and things will take their shape. Nigerians are going through pain. Nigerians are going through suffering. This is the worst of time in the history of Nigeria. But all that we can actually hope for and fight for as a people, because no country succeed without the people fighting for their country. America is 250 years, just celebrated 250 years, July 4th, and the country keeps getting better, even though politicians come, president goes, people want things to be done in their own way. But the fundamental principle of this country is the fact that the founding fathers left a document called the Constitution. But for the Constitution and strong institution in America, the country would have been destroyed by politicians. As a matter of fact, we have presidential candidates that basically want their own will as against the will of the people or the rulings of the Supreme Court in America. But because of the Constitution, because of strong institution, because of the people rising up every point in time to check on their government, the country is doing greatly well. The country does what it needs to do for its people. But in Nigeria, you see strong men as against strong institution. You see, you see institutions that should be fighting against criminality and corruption, standing with politicians. I mean, for example, EFCC should have gone get most of these people into prison. As a matter of fact, look at the issue of Yaya Bello, for example, the former governor of Kogi State. He should be in jail by now. But EFCC, led by Olukayode, told us that if he doesn't put Yaya Bello in prison, he will resign. The last time I checked, Olukayode is still the chairman of EFCC. And Yaya Bello today is contesting for the senator of one of the places in Kogi State. So in Nigeria, you have strong men as against strong institution. And so the pain here is often times when institution needs to speak for the people, they pander to the will of strong men. For example, another example is the case of, this Bajabi Amela case, for example. By now, Bajabi Amela should step aside. Whoever is involved, including the president, everybody should just step aside and let there be an independent investigation to the matter. But the last time I checked, Tinubu just made Bajabi Amela the one that will lead the state policing. And you ask yourself, this guy is on one hand being alleged of criminality, and on the other hand, Tinubu is saying that no, this is my main man, and he made him the head of the panel overseeing state policing. And so you ask yourself, EFCC today has been destroyed. ICPC is not working. DSS is just pandering to the government. The military destroyed. And so you ask yourself, what is left? So the only thing left today is for the people to arise and fight for their country. Americans fought for America. Nepalese fought for Nepal. Sri Lankans, they fought for Sri Lanka. And so the list continues. The Indians, they fought for their own country. You can look at countries that actually came to Nigeria. Country like Malaysia, for example, came to Nigeria, got a palm front, and today they are making billions from palm oil. As a matter of fact, you go to an African store, we call it African store here in the US, you go get cholesterol-free oil, palm oil. That is how refined Malaysia have turned our oil to. But today, the Nigeria, the country that owns this, that has the large deposit of palm front, is suffering and wallowing anguish and in pain. Nigerians, how long are we going to sit down and fold our hands and allow these people to destroy our country? The last time I heard Mr. Peter Gregory be saying that his own life is even at risk. All because of what? Just asking for good governance. Just wants the country to be a better place for everybody. But today, they are threatening the life of Mr. Peter Gregory, the man that is trying to fight for the country, the man that has joined in Anambra. If Peter Obi did in Anambra, he was there for governor for 2 terms, and everybody saw what Peter Gregory did. Is he a saint? No. But as it stands today in Nigeria, Peter Obi is the standard when it comes to political landscape. Peter Obi, as a matter of fact, is an institution that should be studied. That how did you do it to put your head so high, like Dele Parotimi describing, in the middle of this whole corruption and political looting, people stealing money here and there? You left money in your own state. This man should have been, if he's in a same country, you would have brought him and asked him, how did you do it? But rather today, Tinubu and his people are looking for him to bring him down, allegedly. When Funsho William, for example, in Lagos State, was brought down. Funsho William was a good man. We know what happened to the former Attorney General of Nigeria, Bola Ige. These guys, they just take them down and nothing happened to them. But we start today to say, don't dare Nigerians. Peter Obi is different from them all. There is a time that you do something, you will not do it again. Don't even dare it. Tinubu, don't dare it, because you may probably by yourself set the country on fire. Don't dare Peter Gregory. He's not looking for you. All he's asking for is give us better country. Share that one too much. That's not too much. Americans are asking for a better country, even as we speak in America today. I live in Texas by the grace of God. Americans are still demanding for a better country. So if Nigerians are asking for a better country, it's not too much. More so, you guys steal the commonwealth of the people. You steal what belongs to us all. You loot our money, destroy our country. Now, APC-led government, you guys brought in this insecurity. Because you wanted power, you brought in people from the Sahel to destroy the country. And because you cannot meet the terms of your agreement, they're taking it over everywhere. So APC came into power through terrorism. They had to stay in power through terrorism. And Nigerians are the one that will tell them, no, a country is not built on terrorism. So Nigerians, let's stand up. Let's arise and fight. The only hope that we have today, the only glimpse of light, everything just shines on Mr. Peter Gregory, a man with empathy, a man with character, a man with dignity and honor. So it's not too much to ask for a better country. Peter Gregory lived in the UK. He did his business in the UK. He said he got papers, he got messages from the palace. He got papers, he got messages from the Prime Minister of UK, only because what he did his business with all utmost good faith. So Nigerians, if Peter Obi do business for UK succeed, why we Nigerians, why we can't hate on this man? You hear every Yoruba person now, an average Yoruba man, all of these bigots. I'm a Yoruba boy, born and raised in Lagos State. But I detest whoever is saying Tinubu should come for second term. I detest you. As a matter of fact, if you're my family, I will disfamily you if there's any word like that. So Nigerians, let's stand up, let's arise and fight and get back our country. The children in Oyo State have been released. Well, for me, I still looked at some things in that release thing, and I asked some questions. You know, these guys, they cannot, like one of my brothers will say on Naija Watch Media, and they say, you cannot boogaboo us, you cannot fool us. We know what you guys are doing. But we'll just continue to roll. All we are asking for is give us a free and fair election. Peter Gregory Obi is the man that Nigerians are yearning for. Peter Gregory Obi is the standard. Tinubu does not deserve a second term. Okpebolo does not deserve a second term. Sheyi Makinde should just go, pack your load, go. Let's send people, let people that have their heads on their head rule Nigeria. People that can change the trajectory of the country. So Nigerians, my little sense, my own money I go borrow and say, make we all come together. Make we put our mouth together, chase away these people. In Germany, for example, a Nigerian lady show us how German government send her to school, paid for everything. But in Nigeria, our own first lady, the wife of the alleged criminal drug baron, certificate forger, the one that was corrupted by Mahmoud Yakub, how many people feel put food on their table, sustain their family for life through just kuli? I understand some families, some parents did their my own mother sold onions. I hawk onion for my mother. My father was a truck driver, drive everywhere in Nigeria. And I'm where I am today by the grace of God. It's all glory to God that I sit where I sit today in Texas. But no destiny is being built on just selling kuli and frying donut and akara by the roadside. The question you ask yourself is, Remi Tinubu, is this what your own parent did for you? Why are human beings? Why you are just so wicked? You guys are just so terrible and wicked. We are not saying we are saints, no, but you guys can do better. When imagine people, they build Imagine Health, technology, AIs, they plenty for everywhere. You don't see that one tell your own people that to go sell kuli and gari for roadside, so you will feel big destiny. And now this are not even don't bust on our bubble. Say there was one woman say on our use they can't do those nonsense. They lie for Nigeria and say she they make 1.2 million by selling corn or everything she sell. She don't want to tell us now saying a lie. Must you guys live on propaganda? APC, must you live on propaganda? How much more? How many more? What more do you guys want to do? Don't forget, say in the last election, Tinubu went and get fake bishop. Fake bishop. That is how bad this man can go. Fake bishops. So Nigerians, arise. We can get back our country. Pa Adebayo told us. He said, if you don't vote for Peter Obi, if you don't get him to power, forget your country. Do you even have a country today? So Nigerians, let's sit back and watch these trending videos, and then we'll speak more. If you would like to join the panel, we will send you the link. Just put your voice out there and let's get a better country. Thank you very much. We'll come back and speak later on. Thank you.
The special advisor to the president on information and strategy has announced that all pupils and teachers kidnapped in Oyo State have been rescued by security agencies, ending a 56-day ordeal. Bayo Ononuga confirmed the development on his X handle. He later revealed that 8 suspected kidnappers were arrested during the operation and are in DSS custody. Several others were neutralized. He dismissed reports of a prisoner exchange, stating there was no exchange whatsoever, adding that one of the terrorist kingpins whose release had been demanded remains on trial. Gunmen had stormed 3 schools in the Orire area on May 15th, abducting 46 pupils, students, and teachers. The announcement caps months of denials, protests, and false alarms.
We do have Tokunbo Oyetunji now joining us live from Oyo State. Hello, Tokunbo. Good morning. Tokunbo, talk to us.
Hello, Steve. Good morning.
All right, good morning.
Joining you from Ibadan here.
Okay. Talk to us about the development. Is good news to everybody, of course. There might be questions, that, agitating people's minds. But where are we? Do we have more details as to where the rescued pupils and teachers are? Have they gone to Ogbomoso? Has the president spoken to the governor? What is happening in Ibadan, where you are?
Yes, Steve, thank you very much for joining us. The much we know is, it's what you guys have already been talking about in the studio, that the pupils and teachers are released and they've been taken out of captivity. They are in the state capital, Ibadan, where I am right now. Yesterday, let's tell you that we mounted guard at the governor's lodge in Agodi, Ibadan. That's our crew right in Ibadan. Thinking the released pupils and teachers were going to be handed over to the governor of Oyo State, Seyi Makinde, who will present them to the media and the rest of the world. But that didn't happen. What we were told was that that may likely happen this morning, but we can tell you that the released pupils and teachers never came to the governor's office or governor's lodge yesterday. We're told that they are in a facility belonging to one of the security agencies that actually coordinated the search and rescue of the people. So this morning now we're making our way down to the government house, and at the same time asking more questions about where in particular the public presentation of the people will be made to us and the rest of the world. Still, that's where we are. We are not aware whether the president has spoken personally with the governor, but what we can tell you is that a statement released yesterday by the presidency, actually the president praised the collaboration between the federal government and the Oyo State government during the ordeal of the victims, and which the collaboration, which is said, actually led to the good news that we all have on our hands since yesterday till now. So we are waiting, and we are here in Ibadan, and we're proceeding down to the community itself to actually give you a blow-by-blow account of the development as people are actually celebrating and jubilating the return of these people.
Thank you, Tokunbo. I would say that this is possibly a good thing, that the first thing we're not seeing is people who have just been released from a 56-day ordeal being put forward for any type of public presentation or parade. I think that's possibly a good decision there from our security agencies and the governor of Oyo State, Seyi Makinde, because the mental and physical well-being of the children and the teachers should probably be the priority. Now, can you speak to us a little bit about the operation that led to their rescue?
The little that we know for now is that this operation was coordinated by the Office of the National Security Advisor, that's talking about Malam Nuhu Ribadu, and the agencies involved included the military, the Air Force, the Nigerian police, the DSS, a combined very special force was put on this task. And for weeks now, of course, we know that about 2 weeks ago, there had been the announcement of some kind of restriction in the local governments that border the Old Oyo National Park, where the terrorists actually kept the victims And like we have been told by sources, those security, the special security force actually worked day and night to lock down the entire area to ensure that the terrorists were unable to split the victims, so that it now becomes very hard for the search and rescue team to be able to locate them at a particular place. And what they did was to cut down communication to them. I mean, we're told that some of the people that they used out there, including some of their family members, we're told, were detained, so that communication was cut off. They were unable to communicate with the outside world. So they were restricted to that particular location where they were, and that made it easy for the force to actually locate them and activate the procedure that led to the eventual rescue of the victims.
We're happy that they're back. I'll definitely start by saying that. Have you been able to get in touch with any family members of any of the rescued, children, or even, anyone around who has had comments on the rescue effort so far? What's the mood like?
Not yet. We have not been able to locate, grab any of the family members to find out how they are feeling. But I mean, videos have emerged. I mean, when the convoy that drove the victims with the security personnel that actually carried out the rescue was moving, within the community and the towns around there yesterday, we saw the jubilation that greeted the arrival, the excitement that greeted the arrival. I mean, that tells you how excited the people are, and how excited the family members are. Of course, the family members are equally still waiting to be reunited with them. We know more reactions will come today, and that is why we're here, to actually take the mood and let you have them as they happen for now, Kachi. So don't worry, just tarry a while. Your curiosity will be answered in a few minutes or hours from now. But we just need to know exactly where the people are being kept and what kind of support they are currently receiving. Then we'll take more reactions from their family members and the entire people of Oyo State as they react to their release.
All right, Tokumbo, I don't know how close you are, where you are now, to the State House in Agodi, or to the military facility where the victims, where the rescued pupils and teachers are being kept. But then what specific feelers are you getting from the Oyo State government house? There was a video that emerged yesterday, a bit disturbing in terms of the political suggestion and the undertone that it carried, where we saw the governor of Oyo State, Seyi Makinde, saying that he declared to be the president at 4 p.m. on a day, and then by 9 a.m. the next morning, this unfortunate incident of the kidnap happened. Not a few people, are worried about the tone and intent of that thing. Are you hearing anything specifically as to what Oyo State governor intends to do? How happy he is with what has happened? And then, has there been, I know that this is totally a military operation, but we heard of the efforts that Iruekun, Sunday Igboho, and the rest were trying to do. Were they at all involved in all of this? And do we have an idea of whether they were actually picked, rescued from the forest?
Yes, I think I'll start from your last question. Based on the information we have so far, the victims were picked from the forest. In fact, we learned that some of the terrorists were actually neutralized, while some of them, have been arrested, and they are in the custody of our security. They are going to be prosecuted, according to information from the authorities. As regards Mr. Sunday Igboho and the Iruekun group, I don't know how much involvement they had in this rescue. Of course, we've seen videos and we heard of the activities, combing the forest around the Oyo National Park and all that. But I don't know, there has not been any word as regards how involved they were. And as regards the issue of the relationship between the presidency and the Oyo State government, of course, I listened to the governor of Oyo State on another platform yesterday, reacting to this situation. What I heard from him did not actually suggest that there was such a breakdown of communication between the two levels of government. But something sent me curious, actually. The statement released by the Oyo State government, signed by Mr. Dr. Oyelade, the Commissioner for Information in the state, confirming the release of the pupils and their teachers. I perused that statement and I never saw anywhere where it said anything about the collaboration between the state government and the federal government. I mean, that probably may have fueled the suggestion and the talks about, lack of the political undertone, that all this has, because some people have actually said it, to our hearings, that if not for the politics of it, the children and the teachers should have been brought to the government house that yesterday, no matter how late it was, to present them to the governor, who, as the chief security officer of the state, who actually present them to the media and the rest of the world. But you see, you never can tell. I mean, we don't know the real issue that actually prevented that from happening. But the way things happen in Nigeria, the governor belongs to a different party, the president belongs to another party. So there could be some kind of relationship between their parties and what is going on here. But I mean, if you ask me, this is not what to play politics with. Let's just know what exactly happened, and let's move on. Let's see how we can properly support these victims and reintegrate them back to the society and make them live their normal lives again. I mean, they've spent almost 2 months in captivity. The trauma. You know what that means for their psyche. You know what that means for the children who don't even know what they have done to deserve, that kind of treatment. So we are hoping that, I mean, as the day unfolds, the authorities would do what is right and present them to us and tell us what they are doing actually, which is the most important thing today, really, to ensure that these people live their normal lives again after this long time in the den of terrorists. Steve.
Thank you, Tokunbo Oyetunji, for joining us this morning on The Morning Show. Thank you for your updates. I'm sure we'll get back to you either in Oyo later in the day.
Good morning, viewers from across the globe. Today is Friday, July 10th. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu convened an emergency security meeting at the presidential villa, bringing together the entire military command and top security advisors as Nigerian troops expressed outrage over their 100,000 naira monthly salary, calling it grossly inadequate and demanding the president honor the salary increment he promised 4 months ago. And over in the United States, 100-year-old Sir David Attenborough has just broken the record for the oldest nominee in primetime Emmy history. Let's dive right in. I'm Oji Okwe, and this is what's trending. Now, Now, before we dive deeper, let's see what you're talking about right now. We've been tracking conversations on X, Facebook, our YouTube live feed, and of course, Leke. And 3 stories are dominating your timelines this morning. Trending at number 1, shock and alarm across Nigeria after NDC presidential candidate Peter Obi revealed he may not even be alive to contest the 2027 elections, alleging that the ruling party is systematically targeting the opposition. Nigerians are reacting with a mix of fear and outrage. And trending at number 2, chaotic and distressing scenes outside the Nigerian embassy in Pretoria, with crowds of men, women, and children stranded for days, desperate for the repatriation flights, as the 4th evacuation flight carrying 287 Nigerians touched down in Lagos on Thursday evening. And trending at number 3, outrage in Delta State. A community chairman and members of his executive were caught on video assaulting and publicly humiliating a resident, God's Power, OKD, after a social media post criticizing abandoned NDDC road projects. Nigerians are demanding justice. Now, here is where you come in. Join the conversations. Use the hashtag What's Trending with Ojiokwe. Comment on our live feed. And of course, Leke, tell me which of these stories matters most to you. Because for the next hour, we're going into everything that has Nigeria and the rest of the world buzzing. But first, fresh reactions from the Arise News State Police Town Hall. Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan warns state police must not become a tool for political abuse. Senator Adams Oshiomhole asks how a governor can be chief security officer without the tool to enforce security. And human rights lawyer Chidi Odinkalu raises serious questions about giving governors state police powers in an election season. Let's watch.
We are talking about reforming the most fundamental power of a state in election season. We're in election season, and we're talking of reforming the most significant power of the state without debate. This morning, we've learned that there are in fact 2 different versions of the bill going through the National Assembly. An executive bill passed by the Senate and a different one passed by the National Assembly. No citizen has seen those bills nor participated in reviewing them, as citizens are entitled to do. If we are talking about using the police to protect citizens, and citizens are not part of it, who will the politicians be doing business with? Bandits and terrorists? Are they the interlocutors that the politicians will be doing business with? Why are they so afraid of citizens that none is invited to the table?
I cannot be a state security officer. I have no control. I can't give orders to the police. I can't discipline my instrument of control. I cannot promote. I cannot recruit. So it's like calling me a husband, but I have no wife. So I think that over the ages, people have realized that the system as it is isn't working. And I can tell you, because one of the issues raised.
But if I may come in here, it's so sad to hear that when Adams Oshiomhole spoke, the people clap. Now, people don't understand the hidden lies in what he just said now. So basically, they are asking for state police, and as a governor, once you have that, you are on top of the world. Now, what Nigerians don't know is the fact that the Nigerian presidents, both present and past Nigerian presidents, are the most powerful presidents in the world. As it stands today, you may think that Donald Trump is considered as the president of the world because of America. But if you look at the Nigerian president is as powerful as anything. And so Adams now is saying that give the governor state police. So that way they can do anything, then their oppositions become a target. Nigerians, let's be careful. Let's watch some more. Thank you.
By those who have spoken, include the fact that they think, will the state be able to fund the police? Nobody will be able to fund anything you do not believe in. The amount of money I had to spend to procure vehicles, communication gadgets as governor of Edo State was much more than the federal government vehicles that we had in Edo State. Unfortunately, my responsibility ended up.
Every stakeholder has to be.
Once you are deployed, do not wait for any order from anybody to shoot any bandit or any terrorist. I want to make that very loud and clear. Anybody who refuses to shoot or kill any bandit or terrorist in the name of his waiting for an order, we will treat you like a bandit.
But at the Arise New State Police Town Hall, General Musa struck a very different tone, declaring that no country can shoot itself to peace. He argued that military kinetic operations account for only
me with necessary things that I should have been entitled to. Struggling to get it every day. Every day, you're struggling to get it. Little things. I had a case recently at the airport where people who work in the airport came and locked my car. And I said, it's me. The person on the side said, it doesn't care. But I said, look at the cars of other people. And you could see them talking to each other, you know, as if, who is this one?
All right, Peter Obi was careful to stop short of a direct accusation, but his comments have sparked a flurry of reactions, with the presidency firing back. In a post on X, presidential spokesman Bayo Ononuga called Peter Obi a pathological liar, dismissing his allegations as propaganda designed to deflect from problems within the NDC. And I'll take Bayo Ononuga's post on X. He wrote, Peter Obi's recent claims of being targeted by the government, citing an incident involving his car at the airport, which by his own account must have resulted from flouting parking regulations, as simply unfounded and misleading. As a pathological and serial liar, Peter Obi is intent on dragging the government into every personal inconvenience he encounters, often resorting to exaggeration and baseless allegations. He's claimed that he may not be alive for the January 2027 election and that people are being pressured not to invite him to social events is nothing more than a fabricated narrative, a page from his book of lies and propaganda. These claims lack substance and are designed to attract undue sympathy and deflect attention from his credibility deficit. And the
with necessary things that I should have been entitled to. Not at all. You're struggling to get it every day. Every day, you're struggling to get it.
Well, good morning, viewers from across the globe. Today is Friday, July 10th. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu convened an emergency security meeting at the presidential villa, bringing together the entire military command and top security advisors as Nigerian troops expressed outrage over their 100,000 naira monthly salary, calling it grossly inadequate and demanding the president honor the salary increment he promised 4 months ago. And over in the United States, 100-year-old Sir David Attenborough has just broken the record for the oldest nominee in primetime Emmy history. Let's dive right in. I'm Oyo State, and this is what's trending. Now, before we dive deeper, let's see what you're talking about right now. We've been tracking conversations on X, Facebook, our YouTube live feed, and of course, Leke. And 3 stories are dominating your timelines this morning. Trending at number 1, shock and alarm across Nigeria after NDC presidential candidate Peter Obi revealed he may not even be alive to contest the 2027 elections, alleging that the ruling party is systematically targeting the opposition. Nigerians are reacting with a mix of fear and outrage. And trending at number 2, chaotic and distressing scenes outside the Nigerian embassy in Pretoria, with crowds of men, women and children stranded for days, desperately trying to register for the repatriation flights as the 4th evacuation flight carrying 287 Nigerians touched down in Lagos on Thursday evening. And trending at number 3, outrage in Delta State. A community chairman and members of his executive were caught on video assaulting and publicly humiliating a resident, God's Power, OKD, after a social media post criticizing abandoned NDDC road projects. Nigerians are demanding justice. Now, here is where you come in. Join the conversations. Use the hashtag What's Trending with Oyo State. Comment on our live feed, and of course, Leke, tell me which of these stories matters most to you. Because for the next hour, we're going into everything that has Nigeria and the rest of the world buzzing. But first, fresh reactions from the Arise News State Police Town Hall. Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan warns state police must not become a tool for political abuse. Senator Adam Soshiomole asks how a governor can be chief security officer without the tool to enforce security. And human rights lawyer Chidi Odinkalu raises serious questions about giving governors state police powers in an election season. Let's watch.
We are talking about reforming the most fundamental power of a state in election season. We're in election season, and we're talking of reforming the most significant power of the state without debate. This morning, we've learned that there are, in fact, two different versions of the bill going through the National Assembly. An executive bill passed by the Senate and a different one passed by the National Assembly. No citizen has seen those bills nor participated in reviewing them, as citizens are entitled to do. If we are talking about using the police to protect citizens, and citizens are not part of it, who will the politicians be doing business with? Bandits and terrorists? Are they the interlocutors that the politicians will be doing business with? Why are they so afraid of citizens that none is invited to the table?
I cannot be a state security officer. I have no control. I can't give orders to the police. I can't discipline my instrument of control. I cannot promote. I cannot recruit. It's like calling me a husband, but I have no wife. So I think that over the ages, people have realized that the system as it is isn't working. And I can tell you, because one of the issues raised by those who have spoken include the fact that they think, will the state be able to fund the police? Nobody will be able to fund anything you do not believe in. The amount of money I had to spend to procure vehicles, communication gadgets as governor of Edo State was much more than the federal government vehicles that we had in Edo State. Unfortunately, my responsibility ends at procuring these vehicles. When they are misused, they are mismanaged, and I even suspect that they are stolen by those who are supposed to maintain them. I do not have the legal enablement to go beyond asking questions to enforcing discipline.
When the attacks on me and my team were constant, houses were burned, people were killed, there was no time that I would get on the field to campaign that we would not go home with at least 18 to 20 persons shot. And I did pay the Commissioner of Police, Commissioner Busari, a visit. And often, most times he would tell me that his hands were tied. He would tell me to please reach the national police, that is the IG of police at the force headquarters, to instruct him, because at the state level, his hands were tied. And it got to a point when I remember a particular moment, the thugs, the political thugs, were walking openly, equipped with guns, and they were in company of the police. So I drew his attention to that with pictures, and I say, here you have the thugs surrounded by your policemen. Wouldn't you call them to order? Do you know what he told me? He said, Madam, why don't you recruit your own thugs too, to balance power?
Well, three voices, three compelling arguments. Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan speaks from painful personal experience. She knows better than most what happens when security forces are used as political weapons. Senator Oshomole makes an equally valid constitutional point. How can a governor be chief security officer of a state with no authority to give orders to the police? That contradiction has defined Nigeria's security failures for decades. And that is precisely where Chidi Odinkalu lands the sharpest blow, because he's asking the question nobody wants to answer. We're creating state police without transitional arrangements in the middle of an election season, when governors already stand accused of deploying state security against opponents. Odinkalu is not against state police. He's against recklessness. And that, for me, is the point. He is absolutely right there. Recklessness is what we should be against. Now, the consensus in that room was clear. State police can work, but only with ironclad safeguards, independent oversight, and strict constitutional guardrails. Good morning, Dr. Bati, over there in Abuja. How are you this morning?
I'm good. Thank you very much.
Perfect. Thank you for the wonderful job you did yesterday. Yourself and Charles Anyagulu were amazing. I'm sorry I lost my voice. Sorry to the viewers. We will try to continue. Thank you, Rufai. Yes.
You had a very wonderful, closing speech where you thanked everybody and you summarized everything. So you were also amazing.
Yes, I was part producing the show with the chairman and the main convener of this state police program yesterday at the Dome in Abuja. Good morning, Rufai. Good morning, Ayo. And let me reiterate, it's the chairman of Arise News and the state, Prince Nduka Obaigbena. I had to just clarify that. And of course, I'd like your summary of what happened yesterday. I'll start with you, Ayo. It wasn't just those three that spoke yesterday. We had like a room filled with, members from the National Assembly. Yes. We had, Benjamin Kalu there. We had Okpayemi Bamidele, really summing up what the structure of what state police could look like when that bill comes up. But also you heard from Chidi Odinkalu, who actually went viral, talking about the fact that, why are we starting state police during an election season? But my guess is I don't think that this bill will pass before, the election begins or the election is over. That's what I think. I don't know if, it's a rigorous. Every stakeholder has to be involved. And I stand with Chidi saying that, everyone has to be involved in this historic moment. Ayo, your thoughts?
Very true. I do think that the aim is to pass it before the elections. You would see how fast it has scaled through the National Assembly. They say they put together a conference committee to harmonize the bill that was passed at the House of Representatives and the Senate to present one, and then transmit it to the state houses of assembly. Already the governors have spoken, come out in support of this. They only need 2/3 of the state houses of assembly for it to then be passed on to be assented to by the president. So the speed with which it is going, it looks like a force. And that's why a number of people, including Chidi Odinkalu, are asking, why the rush? This process is such a fundamental piece of legislation that it has to be rigorous and robust in the way and manner it is done, and the people that are consulted. And that is why I'm not surprised a number of people are commending the efforts of Arise News for putting up this town hall. It was a critical conversation that had to be had and was done by key stakeholders. Now, just a few things, and just to summarize a few thoughts, since we've talked about it throughout, and I believe that it will still be a point of conversation throughout the day. What was obvious was that there was a real need for rejigging what we have as the current architecture when it comes to policing. That was a general consensus. The second was that there are risks, real risks, that must be addressed in order to mitigate them or to at least reduce the risks from happening. And each of the people who spoke enunciated some of the risks they perceived as part of what would make what a good idea a failure if we don't address them. Some of them include funding. There were real concerns around the inequalities of states and the governors to actually meet the demands, the cost demands of running state police. In fact, there was a suggestion or perhaps a thought put in the room by Governor Soludo around maybe they would need to rethink the way FAC allocation is currently distributed. The current legal framework for FAC is that 52.6% goes to the federal government, 26.7% to the states, and 20.6% is shared across local governments. And they're saying, if you're devolving more powers to the governors, you must also devolve more funds to the governors. More powers means more responsibility. More responsibility must be backed by funds. And so these are some of the things that we talked about. Then also the creativity of governors in ensuring that they themselves take responsibility. They are asking for more powers, but with more powers come more responsibility. What are they doing currently to address, to the extent that their powers can, security in their country, in their state, sorry? Number one, the Enugu State Governor was able to come by showing workings. He said he has invested in drone technology. He has been able to invest in infrastructure equipment for the police, for security in his state. Kudos to him. The Zamfara State Governor also came as well to talk about what efforts he had made. It would be great to understand what the governors within the remit of their powers currently have done in promoting security and policing in their states, because this would give us an idea of how ready or to what extent they take the issue of security seriously. Senator Oshomole said the same thing, that they need to demonstrate political will themselves to committing funds and, making it priority in their states to ensure that they're able to fund state police. So it's not enough to say, oh, the federal states have to take responsibility. And on a final point, this is where I think is a prime opportunity for us in pursuit of deepening federalism in Nigeria. When we have such responsibilities given to our subnationals, then we can hold them to account. Earlier when I talked about even the state houses of assembly and oversight mechanisms, and many of them fail in that regard. It is now time for us to begin to take a look at how well the governors are looking after their states. Are they even capable? And should we look at, through the ballots, removing some of them for bad performance, as some of the discussants yesterday discussed? But is state police important? Absolutely. But in order for that to happen, let us not rush the process. Let it be rigorous. Let all stakeholders be consulted. Let us have national discourse, contributions across different groups and interest groups. And then let us have a very robust architecture to rejig what is a much needed, sector in society.
All right, Rufai, you were there. I'd like your thoughts on, what happened yesterday.
Okay.
You were in that room.
Okay. Thank you so much, Audrey. I mean, see, I have advocated for state police in the past because my argument then is the fact that it will try as much as possible to put more boots on the ground, which was a problem we had, and we still have with the police ecosystem. But as time has gone on, I've been able to look at those views again and say, yes, the Nigerian security problem is really more than boots on the ground. It's also a problem of culture. And culture will largely eat strategy for breakfast. The state police thing we are talking about is strategy to put more boots on the ground. But what's the attendant culture? Example of culture is what Senator Natasha Akpoti said yesterday, that thugs and police officers were moving hand in hand. And she called the attention of the police. She said, my hands are tied. The question is, should thugs and police officers be moving hand in hand? But that's the culture, because they have been bought. So when you put state police, it's even going to make it easier for the governor, because he doesn't need to go to the top. What the state police thing will just do is, it will create local fiefdoms. Then the governor becomes high and mighty, because he can direct them to use. There's a certain state in this country in the East where a local security network was being used to harass opponents of that state. So it depends on who is there. And you see, when we keep saying ironclad assurances, we have a culture of disrespecting the laws in this country. Do you know the first lawbreaker in this country? Governments and government officials. If that culture is there, and the judiciary that is supposed to hold them to account is already wavy, it's already a recipe for disaster. So you see, when we are talking about all of this, we're just talking strategy. Put in place technology. Yes, its strategy is good. But you forget that technology with complicity is total rubbish. Because even if the technology shows you who the criminals are, as long as there's complicity, there's a problem in the ecosystem. Is it for the lack of technology? Look at the kids in Oyo. Oh, they said we are going to get surveillance planes to get rid of them and everything. Now, the Minister of Defense was saying yesterday that said if they come near them, there was going to be collateral damage and all of that. The question we should ask is, what makes it so easy for bandits to be holding peace meetings with state governors? Till today, we have not still heard the full story of how General Rabe's body was released. Till today, we have not still heard the full story about a man that said bandits are going on pilgrimages. That's the complicity. Can we honestly tell ourselves that the security problem in Nigeria, there's no complicity? There's complicity, that's why it's the way. So when you bring in technology, AI technology, and the technology even maps the people that are doing this thing, they are saying stand down. Till today, they have not told us who ordered the military to leave. For them It was 30 minutes after, Oji, 30 minutes after the military left, when those terrorists came in to take in the KB girls.
Right.
Till today, they have not told us who told the military to leave. Till today, we've had stories of people telling the military, okay, stand down when these people are coming. So, is it that the military is not mapping them to be able to kill these people? But when you have a level of complicity, I keep culture with strategy for break. So these are the hard things we don't want to talk about.
All right. All right, I'd like to take Dr. Abati's submission, but I'll read this story so that you can tie it all together. And a revealing contrast from Defense Minister General Christopher Musa, who has now delivered two strikingly different messages in Sokoto State during the commissioning of new security equipment on Wednesday. General Musa issued a blunt directive to troops to shoot terrorists and bandits on sight, declaring that there is no need to wait for any order and insisting that any operative who hesitates to shoot bandits on sight will be treated as a bandit. Let's take a look.
It is important, again, for those that will handle this equipment. These equipments cost billions of naira that could have been used for other aspects, but have been dedicated to do this. So I want to charge you that we must maintain this equipment very well. We will come after a year and see how these equipments are looking. Because we don't want to hand them over and then you throw them away or you mishandle them and they become bad within a few months. They must serve the purpose they are brought in. And I want to reiterate this to all members of armed forces and security. Once you are deployed, do not wait for any order from anybody to shoot any bandit or any terrorist. I want to make that very loud and clear. Anybody who refuses to shoot or kill any bandit or terrorist in the name of his waiting for an order, we will treat you like a bandit.
But at the Arise New State Police Town Hall, General Musa struck a very different tone, declaring that no country can shoot itself to peace. He argued that military kinetic operations account for only 25 to 30% of successful counterterrorism efforts, with the remaining 70% depending on dialogue and community engagement. Let's watch.
Now, the importance is this, that no country can shoot itself to peace. You must be able to bring the kinetics and the non-kinetic working together. And I've said it repeatedly, the kinetic aspect is just about 25-30%. The non-kinetic, which has to do with dialogue, discussion, understanding, together with the communities, because these terrorists live within the communities. And if the communities are on their side, it makes it difficult for the security forces to win the battle. And if the communities are with the security forces, it makes it a lot easier. So it is very, very important.
Now, both solutions can be effective. Shoot on sight sends a necessary signal to troops on the front line, while no country can shoot itself to peace. It's a strategic reality that every serious security expert acknowledges. Dr. Abati, what side are you on? Shoot on sight or dialogue?
Okay, let me start with what General Musa said yesterday. Now, he's always been talking about shared responsibility. That has also been the position of the Nigerian government, that security is a collaborative effort, and that local communities, persons who live with these bandits, who know them, should assist government with intelligence, with information. But the big problem here, which I tried to raise yesterday, when I asked him that question, is that about the issue of trust. If we say communities should assist government, should give information, they did so in the past, only to be the ones at holding the short end of the stick with these terrorists or bandits going back to attack them and their families. So trust is very important. Accountability, which is the phrase you used earlier also, is very important. The people can only cooperate when they see that government is accountable to them and that they can trust their government and not be thrown under the bus by their government. As to the second point about why soldiers should use the modern equipment that they are receiving and all of that and shoot on sight, well, that will amount to a recommendation of jungle justice, of extrajudicial killing. And the military, even when they say they have their own martial law, they have Armed Forces Act, they can only operate under the laws of Nigeria, which is the umbrella of rule of law that governs this environment. So there will be issues about, extrajudicial killing, which is not recognized under the law. And how do you distinguish between a soldier being a coward and trying to delay tactically to be able to establish the facts? More so, as people don't go about with a label, I'm a terrorist, I'm a bandit. Sometimes caution can be applied. And, in the standard operating procedure, even of the military, it doesn't mean that you go about just shooting people anyhow without establishing their guilt as the law requires. However, I summarize by saying that yesterday's event was very fruitful, rich conversations, very instructive perspectives, as I said earlier. And I just hope that this conversation that has been generated afresh at the This Day Arise News Town Hall meeting, the outcomes will be considered by the appropriate authorities that are working on the legal framework, that are working on the implementation framework, and also by the state houses of assembly, who at the end of the day will determine all of this. All the various views were not necessarily contradictory, but because to the extent that there was a consensus that state police is important. It may not be a Dwex machina, but it's an important step to take to reduce the threat of insecurity in Nigeria. Now, as for people who are saying, well, the timing is wrong and all of that, apart from Odinkalu, Professor, I think it was Mr. Peter Obi who first expressed similar concerns. Okay, the National Assembly says there will be constitutional guardrails, constitutional safeguards, which, was discussed yesterday. Again, there's no harm in trying. If we try it, it doesn't work. If it is abused, a future government can scrap it again, as happened in 1966. And if any governor is abusing it, the State House of Assembly is there. Those safeguards that government has talked about, they are also there. So we can start and then continue to improve. And I agree with you, OG, that it may not be feasible that all the states will adopt it even before the election.
Right.
Because the states have varying capacity, they have different circumstances, and then the logic of it may be different. But there are states, you listed some of them, Enugu, Zamfara, Ogun State with Operation Kusaye, and some other states that already have a framework in place. Plateau as Operation Rainbow, which can provide existing knowledge in terms of how they feed into the new process. And then as for funding, the Senate Majority Leader made it clear that funding for the state police will be first-line charge on the Constitution. So that should also help. And the states that already have infrastructure can also contribute to that, since they are doing so in any way, whether it's Enugu State Trust Fund or Lagos State Security Trust Fund. So I think there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and the consensus that is emerging is also instructive, giving the impression now that it's not just government and political leaders taking a decision. Now the people have been given an opportunity for their voices to be heard. And that's the major significance of that effort by Arise News yesterday.
All right, thank you all. Thank you all for your submission. And I'd like to end by taking a comment that I just received on Leke Leke. King wrote, the Arise Town Hall debate on state police is a national turning point. It shows that Nigerians are tired of insecurity, tired of excuses, and ready to confront the structural flaws in the country's policing system. But it also reveals deep fears about political abuse, weak institutions, and the danger of giving more power to state executives. But Nigeria also needs strong safeguards. Security without accountability becomes oppression. It's as if King here was reading my thoughts. I mean, for me, that's really what I summed my vote of thanks to. Really, if we have to put the state police in place, there has to be accountability, because without accountability, it's going to just be a whole new dimension of the insecurity that have been plaguing our nation. Again, thank you to everyone who honored the Arise Town Hall debate on state police, including we had the former Prime Minister of Israel, Ehud Barak, who, shared his international dimension to this story. And the story continues. We're going to continue on this conversation. Nigeria could survive. Now, this next story triggered a wave of shock and alarm across Nigeria after NDC presidential candidate Peter Obi revealed that he may not even be alive to contest the 2027 elections, alleging that the ruling party and government are systematically targeting the opposition. Peter Obi made these explosive comments during an interview with journalist Chidi Odinkalu on Wednesday. Let's take a look.
The way they are going now, Chudi.
Yes. So there's a possibility you may not be a candidate based on how...
Not even a candidate. I might not even be alive. I'm telling you. Every single thing I do for a living, this government is frustrating it. Deliberately so. Everything. So there's even possibility if they have opportunity, I will not be alive.
Oh, wow. That's a big...
It's an accusation. I know I get frustration every day. Because you do things that you think they will be normal. It is not normal any longer. They won't come directly and say, oh, we're doing this, but you could see their hand in everything.
So the government is attacking you personally?
They're attacking everybody who is in opposition personally.
Right.
I am being attacked personally.
Right.
Everything. Even little things. I had a case recently at the airport.
Okay.
Where people who work in the airport came and locked my car. And I said, it's me. The person on the side said, it doesn't care. But I said, look at the cars of other people. And you could see them talking to each other, as if, who is this one?
All right, Peter Obi was careful to stop short of a direct accusation, but his comments have sparked a flurry of reactions, with the presidency firing back. In a post on X, presidential spokesman Bayo Ononuga called Peter Obi a pathological liar, dismissing his allegations as propaganda designed to deflect from problems within the NDC. And I'll take Bayo Ononuga's post on X. He wrote, Peter Obi's recent claims of being targeted by the government, citing an incident involving his car at the airport, which by his own account must have resulted from flouting parking regulations, are simply unfounded and misleading. As a pathological and serial liar, Peter Obi is intent on dragging the government into every personal inconvenience he encounters, often resorting to exaggeration and baseless allegations. He's claimed that he may not be alive for the January 2027 election, and that people are being pressured not to invite him to social events is nothing more than a fabricated narrative, a page from his book of lies and propaganda. These claims lack substance and are designed to attract undue sympathy and deflect attention from his credibility deficit and the problems faced by his SPV and his adopted political association, the NDC. It is important to note that Mr. Peter Obi has a substantial interest in Fidelity Bank. The institution continues to thrive as a result of the current administration's robust economic reforms. The government is certainly not targeting the bank, rather than being haunted by the government. Mr. Obi appears to be grappling with the consequences of his litany of unfounded statements. I mean, he went further to say that the Tinubu administration is not targeting Peter Obi, but you watched that video. I have two questions for Bayo Ononuga. I mean, one, basically, what has the Fidelity Bank shares got to do with this conversation? Is he saying that, it can be true? I mean, those are some of the questions. But Peter Obi made some allegations right there in that video. I mean, it was like a 30 35-minute interview by Chidi Odinkalu there, talking about the fact that he's not even sure if he will be alive by the elections because he feels that he's being targeted. Your thoughts?
All right, on targeting, he makes a very strong allegation and we must not sweep it away. We must take it very seriously. Is he being targeted? Let's take a few facts, some things. Let's analyze. If you look at the political parties that Mr. Peter Obi has joined historically, they run into problems the moment he becomes a member of that party. And then when he leaves, magically or miraculously, the problems evaporate and moves on to the next party that he's in. So with the Labour Party, we then had the factions, we had the Arabambi camp and the others. And then he left and went on to the ADC. And then we started having issues and factions coming up. And then he moved to the NDC, and before we know it, they are becoming deregistered. And so you can understand that there is that question mark around why is it that whenever he presents himself in any political party, for whatever reason, whether or not it is influenced by the government of the day, the party falls into problem. Let's leave that to think. Then, in terms of targeting, let Nigeria not descend to countries on the African continent like Uganda, Algeria, DRC, and the likes, where the opposition voices are silenced. They are put in prison. There are frivolous charges brought against them in order to silence opposition. This is bigger than Mr. Peter Obi. This is about the soul of promoting democracy and democratic principles in the country. And in order for this to happen, the opposition must not be seen or perceived to be under attack or under oppression by the government of the day. For a true democracy, all voices must be allowed to freely be heard, including that of the opposition, and let everyone who presents himself for a contest be free and fair and allow a free level playing field for all. That's all Nigerians are asking for. Right. It could be Peter Obi today, it could be another tomorrow. Right. What we're asking for is strong institutions and ensuring that democratic principles and tenets are there too. That's what we're calling for this morning.
Rufai, I'll take another reaction on this story and I'll come to you. And this is from former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, who has issued a stern warning to President Tinubu, declaring that absolutely nothing must happen to NDC presidential candidate Peter Obi, and that the safety of every opposition leader is a constitutional obligation and a direct test of Nigeria's democratic credentials. And I'll take another tweet. This is from Son, who wrote, Peter Obi says he might not be alive for 2027 on camera in an interview. A former presidential candidate saying they might not survive the next election. And nobody in power is saying that's a problem. Just we've seen the opposition speak against it. Atiku did. And your thoughts?
Thank you so much. Ayo, with due respect, you said we should not be like countries like Uganda that they silence opposition and put them in prison. Ayo, we've already passed the level of Uganda. Newsflash, have you heard of a certain man called Nasir El-Rufai that has been incarcerated for how many days now? Over 140, going to 150 days.
He did say on TV that he tapped the phone of the NSA.
He said that he tapped the phone of the NSA.
But was he granted bail and then released and then...
Let me tell you the kind of bail he was granted. That's what we are saying. They deliberately made the bail conditions very stiff, which we all know is all because of politics. Forget all of that, Ayo. They said the bail condition, he has to go and take authorization from the traditional leading council, traditional chiefs council in Kaduna State. You know that's not possible. You know. And those councils said they're not going to give it to him. So whatever offense he has committed, bail is so hard, going to 150 days now for El-Rufai. Reminds you of a certain guy called Tundu Lisu. So Nigeria has passed that level. The question we should ask is that, did Peter Obi say this in the last election? No. How can you explain, Ayo, that Peter Obi moved to NDC on the 3rd of May? Walk with me. On the 5th of May, a certain entity called Peace Something Political Party went to file a case against NDC. And based on that case, they've been deregistered today. As we speak, you know NDC is deregistered. Yes, forget the fact that INEC give them code to be able to apply. They are already deregistered though, as we speak. Like I keep saying, the grand plan is to ensure that ADC and NDC are not on the ballot. And as we keep going with time, these things keep getting clearer. Did all of this happen in the last election? As we even called Buhari and said, oh, we call Buhari all sorts of names. Did you ever hear that there was a rancor like this in the last election?
Only the redesign of the Naira.
It was only the redesign of the Naira. Did you ever hear that there was a rancor like this that Peter B was coming out to say? So, see, Bayo Onanuga can respond and say, he's saying this, he's saying that, he's saying this, he's saying that, he should bring proof and evidence. That's between both of them. But it will only you will only be delusional to think that the hand of God is not moving in the political affairs of things, that all of these court cases, the courts are just going to cases for themselves, Abi. It's not people that are filing these cases. All of a sudden, the ADC, 1 week, the register. The second week, NDC, the register. Everything is being done to stifle opposition. All of a sudden, they change electoral law to be able to have enough time to perfect things before the election. All of a sudden, we now have a longer window. Normally, the former electoral law, all this period, we are still thinking of who to be presidential candidate and all of that. All of a sudden, things have just fast-tracked and fast-forward. If I can repeat, it will be a miracle if Atiku Abubakar or Peter Obi finally makes it on the ballot in this election. It will be a big miracle.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Well, reactions are trailing a grand commissioning in Abuja as First Lady Senator Oluremi Tinubu, who was representing her husband, President Tinubu, unveiled the newly remodeled Abuja City Gate on Thursday evening. The landmark was described as the First Lady's brainchild by FCT Minister Nyesom Wike. The Abuja City Gate now features a stunning unity fountain with 37 water nozzles representing the 36 states of Nigeria and the FCT. Let's take a look. Sweet mother, we never forget. Sweet Mud, you know, when I heard that song, I started dancing. I love that song. It reminds me of my mom. But you know what? It's commendable that the FCT is pushing to make Abuja an aesthetically pleasing city as the nation's capital. But online, many have questioned the cost behind this remodeling and whether this should even be a priority given the mountain of challenges the country is facing. Dr. Abati, I'll take one reaction, and you are in Abuja. Confirm if this is true. Eliag wrote on X, I just passed this place. I can tell you that this project is not necessary for now. This has nothing to do with the development of the nation that can effectively touch citizens. Your thoughts, Dr. Abati, really quickly, before I take this other story.
Well, the renovation was the initiative of the First Lady, and we're told that the cost is about 1.5 billion. Now, most of the people are saying, well, 1.5 billion is too much. Well, I don't know whether they've done the calculations, whether they have seen the bill of lading, whether they have seen the contractual or the procurement process. So we really cannot speak authoritatively on that. But as for the beautification of the approach to the federal capital city from the international airport, I think it's a good thing. Aesthetics is part of urban development. And that this initiative came from her with the support of the Federal Capital Territory Administration. I don't think we can say, oh, because we have insecurity, because we have some other challenges, then, aesthetics presentation will be a kind of diversion. That should not be the case in this regard.
All right.
And I'm sure when we all pass through that gate, we'll be pleased to see what a beautiful environment that space is.
All right. I wish we had a lot of time to discuss this, but I would like to ask our viewers what their thoughts are. We'll read your comments when the story unfolds. Now, over in Delta State, a deeply alarming video from Emevo community shows a community chairman and members of his executive assaulting and publicly humiliating a resident, God's Power Okedi, over a social media post criticizing abandoned NDTC road projects. Let's take a quick look. This video has sparked outrage across Delta State and beyond. No community chairman has the right to assault any citizen for expressing an opinion online. Freedom of expression is a constitutional right. And what happened to God's Power Okedi is not community dispute resolution. It is thuggery and a flagrant abuse of power. The Delta State Police have yet to issue a formal statement, but we're calling on them and Governor Sheriff Obowori to speak on this matter immediately. I mean, this is so unfortunate, unacceptable for my state.
Really? It's a flagrant abuse of
flagrant.
Power. Absolutely. So what we need now is an investigation into this matter. I know that the community chairman does not have immunity. So if found, if he's found culpable, then he should face the full, wrath of the law in terms of the full justice process. And that man ought to receive compensation. One thing we don't do very often is to sue or to press charges for grievous bodily harm. We just keep quiet, maybe because people feel like the institutions of the courts do not work in their favor. But I do encourage people to go ahead and do this, because sometimes we need to ensure that impunity does not go unchecked or we just continue to have a state of impunity. So please, for the young man there, if you can, press charges, and I hope that we'll have civil society organizations and the press, as we've done this morning, to advance your cause. But most importantly, please let this matter be investigated, and every single person who is culpable ought to be brought to book.
Thank you for your submission. Can't be doom and gloom in Nigeria, can it? Let's take our good news report now, highlighting this incredibly impressive feat from the tennis world. 17-year-old Nigerian tennis star Oluwaseun Peter Ogunshakin and his partner from Botswana have just qualified for the boys' doubles quarterfinals at the 2026 Wimbledon Junior Championships. Wimbledon's junior championships have often served as a critical platform for future association of tennis professionals and women's tennis association stars, with many former champions going on to successful global careers thereafter. Ogunshakin and his partner dominated Wednesday's game, battling an American pair in the round of 16 to make it into the final 8. They now move into the quarterfinals, where they could become the first African duo to make it into the later stages of this year's doubles at Wimbledon. He's such a gentleman, one of my favorite people in the world. He has to have implications. Happy birthday. Happy birthday, Steve. He knows how to do it. Now, shall we take our final story under entertainment? Afrobeat star Burna Boy is set to make history as a co-headliner of the first ever FIFA World Cup final halftime show, a landmark moment for Afrobeats on the global stage. The Grammy-winning superstar will share the
presidential candidates of the NDC. Well, to discuss these issues, I'm joined now in the studio by the Executive Secretary of the National Human Rights Commission, Chief Tony Ojukwu, who is a senior advocate of Nigeria. Thank you very much indeed for coming in.
Thank you for inviting me.
Let's start with your own human rights situation dashboard, which recorded over 326,000 complaints in just 1 month, with violations of the right to life topping the list. How much is this evidence of a nation in systemic human rights distress?
Yeah, the situation on violations is really worrisome. One, the possibilities are this. The Commission has created a lot of awareness about rights. So what we are seeing is that people now know when their rights are violated and that they can go somewhere and report. In addition to that, of course, the security situation is there staring everybody in the face. You know, a lot of communities are under siege. The other time I went to Maiduguri, and for farmers to go to farm, they had to be escorted to go to the farm, and so on and so forth. So the situation is really there, and we keep hoping that the security agencies will rise to their beat and be able to stem these conditions even before the election, because in this kind of situation, it is going to be very difficult to have a free and fair elections.
And every month, the commission, which you head, releases these alarming statistics. But what many Nigerians want to know is, beyond documenting abuses, what tangible difference is the National Human Rights Commission making in the lives of ordinary Nigerians?
You know, a body like the National Human Rights Commission has some duties. First of all, we have to document, because if you don't document this, probably nobody will know things like this are happening. The other one is to try and find remedy as much as possible. However, your ability to find remedy will also depend on the resources you have. For instance, we are in the 36 states. We have offices in the 36 states. And that's one office in a state. We are supposed to be in all the local governments, but we are in one state capital in the state. So that automatically influences how many people can even reach you to seek for.
Yeah, but you're still talking about documentation.
Yes.
I'm talking about remedies.
That's the point.
I mean, the ones you've been able to document, never mind if you're not in all local governments, you're somewhere.
I'm going to come to that.
Yeah. What are you doing about those?
Now, for instance, the kind of cases you have are somebody reports, I have been unlawfully arrested. And you have to assist to go to the police station to bail the person, to make sure the person doesn't use money to get bail. You have somebody, you have children that are on the streets, that are not able to go to school, abandoned children.
Yes.
You have to see, can you talk to Ministry of Education or something like that? You get these children out of the streets. Is there enough shelter? There may not be enough shelter. You're talking of issues of domestic violence. You start mediating to see whether there can be an amicable settlement or whether the police can prosecute. These are the kind of cases that come. So they're not things like magic wand, which is,
and there's a lot of
there's a lot of it.
So you must be tearing your hair out every day.
Exactly. And in some cases you start like issues concerning families. Along the line, maybe the victim says, oh, I don't want to go on again. Maybe he's under pressure from the pastor or from the traditional ruler or from the big uncle and so on and so forth. So these are the kind of violations we are talking about.
Yeah, I understand what you mean. But let me turn to Peter Obi's very serious allegation. Here is a leading opposition figure, former presidential candidate, current presidential candidate, publicly saying he believes his life is under threat. I mean, he's not a guy to be trifled with. He's a former governor. He's somebody a lot of people respect enough for him to have come third in the presidential election in 2023. He says publicly that he believes his life is under threat and that he may not even be alive to contest the 2027 presidential election. Whether or not one agrees with him politically, that is an extraordinary claim. Does a statement of that magnitude automatically trigger the attention of the National Human Rights Commission?
Certainly. When I read that news in the morning today, I listened to it in the morning today, I had to call my team and say, what should be our response to this? Because, of course, the issue of opposition being able to have
space
to do their bit is a legitimate right. And there's a general issue about freedom of information and the civic space being, shrinking, especially, as the election is coming close. So the statement made by P2B is a very worrisome statement. And for every person who means well for this country, we should take it seriously.
Yeah, but your commission.
So for the commission,
will the commission independently seek to establish whether there is any basis for Mr. P2B's fears, or do you wait until a formal complaint is lodged before you act?
We don't have to wait until a formal complaint is lodged. So what we want to do is we need to now issue an advisory going forward on what the government and everybody should do so that every contestant will have a feeling that they have the space to do their bit properly. It is difficult to investigate a matter like this because he has made that statement.
Well, because you work for the government and you simply can't turn around and put a gun to their heads, can you?
Yeah, it is difficult because I don't also know if we invite P2B to come and give specifics of the allegation. He said his businesses are being attacked. He gave one example of his car being locked at the airport and so on and so forth. However, what we intend to do is to give an advisory that going forward, please, all the contestants must be given the space.
Yeah, but are you going to investigate his claims and his allegations? You said you don't know if you invite him. Have you invited him?
What I'm saying is, in a situation like this, these are some of the suo motu cases. He hasn't complained to us. He has complained to every Nigerian. So our approach to a case like this is we now issue an advisory, both for government and the players, on how to make sure that going forward that we have a free space for everybody to do his politicking.
Yeah, but that suggests
without fear.
That suggests that you actually believe that his allegation is something that is not as crucial.
Is serious.
Well, I mean, I'm wondering whether you're going to investigate it and whether you're going to then come up with your own findings and say yes, because I mean, this guy is a former governor. He's a presidential candidate.
Well, if he complains to us, we will do that.
Right.
What I'm saying is...
So unless he complains to you, you will not... A statement of that magnitude does not automatically trigger a reaction from an investigative reaction from the National Human Rights Commission.
The levels of reaction it will trigger are different.
Right.
Than if he complains directly to us. Now, he has made a general statement. It is for us to see, is this part of shrinking the civic space, allowing the opposition to feel free to, go out and ask for voters and so on and so forth.
Well, the man says he might not be alive in 2027. That's a serious allegation. I mean, you're talking around the issue.
The issue of being alive is a delicate issue, which
it's an allegation which is made. You're a human rights commission that is supposed to...
Is an inference.
I mean, you're already interpreting it and you haven't investigated.
No, he didn't say an attempt has been made on his life. He said he's not sure of being alive. He didn't say I've been attempted on.
Well, the implication of that is that there is something that has caused him the amount of... And he was very specific that the government is coming after him. I mean, he was very specific in that clip. So it's a very specific allegation and it's a very specific charge. And what I'm wondering is what you, as the Nigerian Human Rights Commission, is going to do about that.
So what we want to do is on how the civic space can be managed right now so that he doesn't lose his life, so that he feels free to do his work, and at the end of the day, he will not lose his life.
Well, some Nigerians would argue that politically sensitive cases which this one clearly is, are precisely where institutions like yours are expected to demonstrate courage and independence. Is the National Human Rights Commission sufficiently empowered and sufficiently fearless to investigate allegations that may implicate powerful state actors if the evidence points in that direction?
Certainly. We've done that over and over again. You remember the Reuters allegations against the military for committing about 10,000 abortions in the Northeast and for all the attack on women and so on and so forth. We conducted an investigation. Every single military officer in this country, from the Minister of Defense now, who was the Chief of Defense Staff, for the Chief of Naval, all of them appeared before that panel and they gave evidence. And at the end of the day, we were able to show that really the allegations had no basis.
Right.
And that saved the country, because if the commission had not done that investigation, ICC would have come in under the complementarity principle, which says that if a country does not show the political will to do such a level of investigation, then ICC will take over. So because the commission was able to do that creditably, and in fact, Reuters International that wrote that allegation, we invited them, they couldn't come. And since we published our findings, they have not been able to utter a word, showing that they had no answer to our investigation.
Well, let's move away from Peter Obi, and let me ask you about the disturbing case from Delta State. That chap called God's Power Ikedi was allegedly stripped, assaulted, and publicly flogged by community leaders over a Facebook post in which he apparently complained about abandoned road projects. I mean, we saw the video, we can probably see it now, but Amnesty International condemned it almost immediately as a grave assault on freedom of expression. Yet many people noticed that there was no immediate public intervention from the National Human Rights Commission. I mean, why? Isn't public silence from the country's premier human rights institution, especially in a case attracting national attention, capable of sending the wrong message that some abuses simply don't attract sufficient urgency?
Now, we have standard operating procedures.
Yeah.
We
you can see the video. I mean, it's there.
I agree.
Everybody can see the man being walloped.
I agree. We have standard operating procedures. We don't behave like civil society groups. We have a standard of practice. For instance, immediately this happened, we have sent a directive to our office there.
In Delta State.
Right. To go investigate and give us a report. Once that report comes now, then we act on the report and we can make a statement. We cannot just see
of course. I mean, it's like any legal thing, you'd have to investigate.
This is an institution.
But beyond issuing statements, I mean, you said you would issue a statement.
Because once the report is positive, then we'll request that the Commissioner of Police in that state must prosecute this case.
Okay,
and we'll follow it through.
Because I'm wondering what practical action you can take.
That is it.
Right.
We'll follow it through, go to court, make sure that...
So you can compel investigation.
Of course.
Right,
of course,
okay.
Certainly.
And you can recommend prosecution.
That's definitely.
Right, okay. I'm glad to hear that. Are you becoming concerned at all that Nigerians increasingly fear expressing political opinions? I mean, you mentioned that at the outset, the shrinking space, whether online or offline, not because of the law, but because of alleged intimidation from state actors. I mean, is Nigeria, because you talked about the suggestion of shrinking space, is Nigeria, based on your knowledge as somebody who heads the Human Rights Commission, is it actually witnessing a shrinking civic space where criticism of authority increasingly carries personal risk?
Of course, that is the picture we are seeing. If you look at our dashboard, that is the picture that is coming. And that is why we instituted this dashboard. Because these were things that go on before and people don't know.
Yes, that's an important thing you've done there with the dashboard,
because
for sure.
The dashboard is an accountability mechanism to call out the people who are involved to take necessary action. So the civic space, of course, the space was enlarged by social media, where everybody on your laptop, on your telephone, you can publish. And you cannot, there's no way you can regulate what people can publish. We have published an advisory which shows how the shrinking space, how the civic space is being affected, and how people should be able to practice so that there won't be so much confrontation. Now, the civic space is really under attack. A lot of journalists are also under attack. We have formed a team that is looking critically at the issue of attack on journalists. We have joined cases where journalists have also gone to court to assert their rights because of intimidation arising from that. It is not a good thing. It is not a good thing. We have also fought with cases in the National Assembly where they wanted to pass legislation, to worsen the already shrinking space, and we were able to convince the Parliament not to pass those laws. So we are doing a lot of things. Now we have developed a protocol to investigate any allegation involving attack on a journalist.
Right.
We are working with some media organizations. These are all the kind of things we are putting in place to make sure that people are able to express themselves. And also, if you disagree with anybody's publication, you take him to court. You have your day in the court. The strategy or the solution is not to use political power to kind of prevent people from expressing themselves.
Right.
That shouldn't be the case.
Okay. Well, let me just say this before we continue, that we're expecting the governor of Oyo State to make a statement about the release of the school children in the state, children who were taken from the Orire local government, abducted, and they've now been released today. And as soon as that begins, we're going to take it live. Yeah, that we're looking at pictures now from Oyo State as they wait for the governor to come through. When he does come out, we will carry it live. So just to let you know that we will interrupt whatever it is we're doing here and go live to that, because that's the biggest story of the day right now. And a story that is very heartening, the release of all the school children who were abducted from that Orire local government in Oyo State. Let me continue with you. The political temperature is already rising, as you yourself suggested, ahead of 2027. What is it that worries you most from a human rights perspective?
The apathy it is going to generate. Because if you ask most people on the streets now about their voters' cards, they're not interested.
Is it the apathy or the violence?
Yeah, because of the tension. People are feeling, why should I get myself involved in this election? So it is going to discourage people from participating in the process. That is what is going to happen at the end of the day. And you know what that means. If people don't participate, the few that participate will not decide for the rest of all of us. So, in fact, we are trying to see how we can start. Like during the last election, we carried out a project mobilizing voters to vote. There is need for that kind of situation again.
And you see that as a human rights issue?
Of course, the right to participate, to choose your leaders is a basic right in the Constitution, and that is the beauty of democracy. If people are not involved in selecting their leaders, it's a problem because there will be a credibility issue. There will be difficulty if people don't feel that they are not part of choosing the leaders. That means obedience is going to be a problem. Law enforcement is going to crack down, and so on and so forth. But when people believe that a government is their own, followership goes, administering is easier, and government support is overwhelming.
So what warning would you give political actors today to ensure that Nigeria does not enter another election cycle with citizens afraid to speak, to organize, or to participate in the process?
You see, the way politicians are going on, at times I wonder whether they understand that there could be consequences. You see, when you push people to the extreme, you don't know how they react. Politicians are going on as if no matter how we do it, nothing will happen. And I don't think so. Something can happen. We may have been lucky all these years, but how long are we going to be that lucky? I just came back from Rwanda last week, and I went to the museums and things like that. And after going through all that, I had a sobering moment. And some of those signals are all over, and nobody is taking it serious. So my advice to politicians, please cool down the temperature. Respect the right of others, respect the right of your colleagues. For the government in power also, allow the civic space to thrive, because it will also help you in your own credibility. So because if this goes on and the tension keeps rising, nobody knows how it is going to play out. It's not like 1 + 1 is equal to 2. It could turn out that 1 + 1 will be equal to 4. And then we'll be engulfed in something we wouldn't know how to go out. And let us not forget, the SARS protests happened in this country.
There's the NSARS.
The NSARS protests. Right. Now, the youths are all here. This is a country that almost 65% of the population are made up of youths. So that has its own positive and also its own negative. So a situation where there is general disgruntlement, there's general tension before the elections could snowball into something. If the youth in this country decide to go on rampage, you can't control it because the numbers will overpower everybody. Let us not get to that situation. So I urge all politicians to please, in the interest of saving this country, to play it down and allow a free space for everybody to feel free in his fatherland.
Good advice. So if an ordinary Nigerian watching tonight said to you, I know my rights, but I don't believe anyone can protect them, what would your answer be?
Please trust us, come to us, and let us join you to make sure that your right is protected. Your right can be protected with the National Human Rights Commission.
Okay, on that note, I want to thank you very much indeed. Chief Tony Ojukwu is the Executive Secretary of the National Human Rights. Welcome back to Arise Prime Time, where we offer perspectives on the news and talking points of the day. I'm Charles Aniegolu. Now, as you heard earlier, some of Nigeria's most influential political leaders, security chiefs, constitutional experts, and policy thinkers gathered here in Abuja for the Arise News National Town Hall on state police and national security. For hours, the debate centered on one question: can state police finally provide the answer to Nigeria's worsening insecurity? But not everyone was convinced. One of the strongest dissenting voices came from Professor Chidi Odinkalu, lawyer, human rights advocate, and former chairman of the National Human Rights Commission. While many see state police as an idea whose time has finally come, Professor Odinkalu warned that Nigeria may be rushing headlong into a dangerous experiment. He argues that introducing state police on the eve of another election cycle without strong constitutional safeguards or transitional arrangements risks turning governors into powerful political enforcers and reviving the dark legacy of the old native authority police, institutions once accused of silencing opponents rather than protecting citizens. And the professor of law, human rights activist, and former chairman of the Nigerian Human Rights Commission, Professor Chidi Odinkalu, joins me now in the studio. Thank you very much indeed for coming in.
Thank you very much for having me, Charles. Good
Now,
evening.
you argued today that introducing state police at this point is an invitation to anarchy rather than security. Why do you believe the risks outweigh what many Nigerians see as an obvious solution to insecurity?
Now, first of all, no, thank you for that question. Now, the first thing is this. As I tried to explain today, in this entire conversation about state police, you've not heard the most important expression that you will hear if you're discussing policing in a civilized country. Law enforcement. Have you?
You say law enforcement.
Law enforcement.
Right.
Have you ever, in this entire conversation, heard law enforcement? No. Why? Because this is not about law enforcement. This is about deploying the policing power for political purposes.
Well, that's a fairly narrow way to look at it, isn't it?
Now, you see, policing, the police as an institution is primarily about law enforcement. If you listen to Governor Oshomole today, who was one of the more articulate voices in support of...
That's Senator Adams Oshomole.
Correct.
Right.
Now, he talked about the role of the governor as the chief security officer of the state. But the chief security, and as I tried to explain, under the Nigerian system, the internal security is the responsibility of the SSS, the entity that many people now call the DSS. The State Security Service is responsible for internal security. And that channel runs directly to the president. Policing, under the Police Act, does law enforcement, which is forensic, it is clinical. State Security Service does internal security. That is prophetic. It relies on intelligence, and it can take steps that the police cannot take because the police needs the courts. Therefore, you cannot be talking about reforming police outside the justice system.
That's an important point.
This is the fundamental point. And nobody in this entire conversation is talking about justice. We are talking about security.
So how should they be talking about justice in this context?
Now, if you're talking about police as a justice institution, the first thing is, what are we doing with the justice system now as it is? Which is why I talk about the ministries of justice and what they do with them, and how the throughput and relationships between the justice ministry and the police as an institution has got to be managed. At the moment, none of this is happening in that context. And the second thing is, and I think Tunji Ladna was the person who captured this point adequately in my view, that fundamentally, this is about reimagining the Nigerian state and its relations with its citizens. The power of police starts from that basis. And the question is, on what basis do you do so? Now, there are two dominant models, or three, actually, there are three models of policing. One is consensual policing. That's the British system, the Bobby on the beat. The second is coercive policing. That's the American model, which is very armed.
Indeed.
There is a third model, which is expeditionary policing, which is the colonial policing system, which we've got. If you want to transition from expeditionary policing, the question is, what kind of police do you want to create?
And this is an opportunity to get it right.
To address that question.
Right. That's a good point. That's a very good point.
And so I'm not opposed to to decentralization. As I said this morning, that issue is sorted. There is consensus. We've got to decentralize. The current model is not agreeable. But can I, through you, make one request? Can all the politicians involved in this give us one guarantee? State police will not be deployed before the conclusion of the next election.
Right. That's something that you've some would say banged on about consistently, because obviously that's something that worries you. Why does it particularly worry you?
It has to worry everybody. You cannot deploy state police in the context of an active election season. That should not even be open to debate. But no politician is willing to guarantee that there will be no state police created before elections next year. Can we at least get that out of the way? So we all agree that this is to be deployed after the next election.
But their argument would be, tell that to the people who are under siege from, from bandits and terrorists and all kinds of things. What you're going to say to them, wait till after the election?
You know the interesting thing? Orire will produce full turnout in the 2027 elections. Yes? You know Orire in Ogbomosho, where the teachers and the students are still held at the moment. It will produce full turnout. In 2023 elections, in Oyo State, the community of the governor, which suffered an attack, a terrorist attack on the day, produced one of the highest turnouts, right? Now, a lot of things that happen in Nigerian elections are not explicable in rational terms. But if we're trying to reform policing so that the country appears to run rationally, it seems to me we've got to provide certain basic guarantees. One of them is you cannot deploy state policing during an active election campaign season.
Well, the argument for state police, and you've said that you broadly support the idea of decentralization, but it depends on what form that decentralization takes.
And what the details are.
Right. The argument for state police is fairly straightforward. From those who make that argument, that Abuja simply cannot police nearly 230 million Nigerians from the center. That the current model is clearly struggling and that there's got to be a realistic alternative, beyond the theories that people have about how it ought to be. Many governors, for instance, already fund police operations. They buy patrol vehicles, they provide logistics, and they even pay allowances. Isn't it contradictory that they pay for policing on one level, but have no operational control over it? And the fact that they simply can't deploy people when there is an urgent insecurity situation. That's. I wonder if you could address that point.
Now, the chief security officer to every governor is an officer of the State Security Service. You know that?
The what, sorry?
The CSO to every governor is an officer of the State Security Service. Right? And that's as close to the governor in terms of proximity on a day-to-day basis as any person could possibly be, other than the spouse of the governor. The officers of the State Security Service are not under the operational control of the governor. They are under the operational control of the president on a day-to-day basis. But the governors entrust them with their protection. And really, you cannot say that the governors don't have an interaction with those people. Operational control is particularly troubling the way we frame it. Now, in the nature of Nigeria's federalism, and every federalism is unique, and as I try to point out today, there are 27 federalisms in the world and 30 countries that are quasi-federal, including South Africa. Now, but none of them tries to posit every federalism tries to define itself with reference to its domestic politics and adapt itself. India, by the way, is the most complex federalism in the world. India is about over 3.5 times the size of Nigeria territorially, and over 6 times in the size of Nigeria population-wise. India became independent 13 years before Nigeria and started practicing federalism before Nigeria. India's federalism is different from Nigeria's federalism. And some of the arguments we're having in Nigeria will look very jejune to an Indian. Now, I could go on. Look at America's federal model. Next to it to the north is Canada. Next to it to the south is Mexico. As a matter of fact, many states in the United States used to be part of Mexico.
Indeed.
Now, so when you look at the Mexican model of federalism or the Canadian model, they are different. what are our problems here? And I think somebody did make that point here. It is the fact it's politicians and the instrumentalization of police power.
Right.
And when
or
people,
the potential of that.
precisely
in this
so
context.
The question is not should we reform, but how do you know the terrible thing about this? We
Right.
cannot even have a debate on state police and on the legislation at the moment because neither you nor I have seen them. So we are speculating. Why is it not possible for citizens to have an informed conversation on the legislative proposals? So I'm here supposedly discussing state police with you without access to the legislative proposals.
Right, that's a good point.
Is that right?
One of the biggest concerns that you have, let me just be clear on that, is timing. That we're discussing state police barely months before another general election.
And the engineering of the proposal.
Right. If this debate had taken place immediately after an election instead of taking place now, would the position be different?
Quite clearly, yes. The optics would manifestly be different.
Right.
Now, but we are in season. They are being important, correct? Primaries have taken place. So election season is active.
But if I mean, I'm wondering given the reality of, I mean, punishing insecurity in this country, I'm wondering what circumstances would allow you to support state police at this particular time. Would you support it if you saw that it contained very strong safeguards, like independent police commissions, secure tenure for commissioners, judicial oversight, independent funding, criminal penalties for political interference? So do you believe that no safeguards would ever be sufficient in the Nigerian context, and given that elections are approaching and these guys want to be re-elected?
First of all, we are discussing policing proposals that no one has seen. That's the first thing. That's safeguard number one. Can we at least see the proposals? Yeah. That is such a basic thing to talk about that it's amazing that we're even having to ask about it. So can we at least see the proposals? Let every citizen acquire a copy of the proposal. Put it up on a website.
So why do you think we're not seeing it?
That's a question that actually is above my pay grade.
Right.
Right?
Well, your pay grade is pretty high.
This is above my pay grade. So that's the very first safeguard. What's the second safeguard? Now, when we have seen the proposals, can we have a debate about the proposals?
Not before.
Not before. Now, they pass these things, and they'll tell you, well, it's not the Constitution that is supposed to engineer these things. It is the police bill that will be put forward for reenactment after that. So why are you keeping this one from us? Can we at least see the proposals? I can't say this enough, but that's actually the very first thing. Once we see the proposals, we can then have an informed debate. I don't want to have an illiterate debate.
Right, I understand what you mean, and that makes perfect sense. But let me ask you this in the context of what we know. Some states, which is the broad strokes of state police, some states, Enugu is one example, have demonstrated that technology, surveillance, and local intelligence can dramatically improve security. Doesn't that strengthen the argument that states understand their local security challenges better than Abuja?
It could actually strengthen the argument that what we have at the moment can be made to work if we have sensible politicians. So that's an ambivalent situation right there, right? So that the question of ownership is not the issue. It's a matter of working out sensible accommodations and interdependence.
But a lot of people would still argue, and critics have argued against people like yourself when they hear your side of the argument, that asking citizens to tolerate today's insecurity in order to avoid tomorrow's hypothetical abuse, which is essentially what you're talking about, is not right, that it's not fair.
Now, the question, what exactly is the source of this insecurity? Because we're not dealing with law enforcement, we're dealing with insecurity and bringing policing into that. We cannot discuss insecurity and policing and forget all the other elements in the complex. That's one. But the second thing is this: the single biggest source of insecurity in Nigeria is the illegitimacy of electoral mandates. Let us be very brutal about that. When people discover that electoral mandates, their votes don't count, the courts are not working for them, and judges have been bought, they resort to violence and vigilantism. All right? So the diagnosis is relevant here to the prescription of management mechanisms. Unless, therefore, we want to deal with policing outside the diagnosis, in which case we can as well do that and create a new set of pathologies. But if we don't want to do that, then we've got to be very careful. Sani Yerima led us down a path in this country in 2000-2001, which actually has presented us with the pathology we are responding to.
That's the former governor of Zamfara.
Correct,
State.
who is now a senator.
Right.
Right? Sani Yerima told us that if you created state militias on the basis that governors wanted to, you could solve Nigeria's security problems. He gave us Hisbah as a model, right? With hudud crimes, correct? Because that was, hudud crimes were not supposedly allowed under Nigerian law, but he created that. Chinwoke Mbadinuju in Anambra State followed Anambra State Vigilante Services Law, and that gave us what? Bakassi. Bakassi evolved to MASOB, MASOB evolved to IPOB. In Benue State, the current SGF, who was governor of Benue State, signed into law the Benue State Vigilante Services Act. It gave us what we have today in Benue State. People are talking of Farmer Header. Greater Makurdi, you cannot stay in unless you're in the metropolitan Makurdi. Parts of Makurdi, the state capital, are deserted. How did we get to the point that we are today without looking at the pathologies that evolved from the security modeling that those people gave us? It is important to understand that in the police as we speak today, when a police officer is sent to a training institute, that is a punishment posting. So training and doctrine in the Nigeria police is dead. You are going to be introducing state policing with no training infrastructure. So when they tell you we are going to prescribe common standards, there is no infrastructure of policing. Go to Police Staff College and take a look. Go to all the police training institutions and take a look. None is working.
Okay, let me ask you this, because we've literally got 1 minute. And as always, it's just brilliant talking with you. But let me ask you this. If not state police, I know you say that you're not opposed to it in principle. It's the timing, it's a lot of other things. If not state police at this point, how do we deal with security problems? We've got a minute.
I cannot fix Nigeria's insecurity problems.
No, I know, but I'm asking you. I'm asking you, what would you suggest as a way to say to people who are under siege that, you know, the federal police has not been able to do it. The army has not been able to do it. The argument has always been that you need people who are closer, who understand the terrain and all the rest of it. If they can't have that, what would you suggest?
So so let's accept we cannot fix it in the period before this election, and therefore decide, you know what, we are going to fix this thing.
There's been an uproar, you know, all over the social media about the Peter Obi's interview where he mentioned about what happened to him at one of the airports in Nigeria. And pretty much yesterday evening, the Minister for Aviation, Festus Keyamo, funny enough, you know, this is not somebody when ordinarily you would be seeing and shouting, my learned colleague. But it's so unfortunate that as of today, there is nothing really, really learned about Festus Keyamo. I would want you to take your time. Let's go through all of these old issues together. And at the end of the day, Tinubu go realize, say, just employ or appoint bunch of very, low-thinking people to serve either as his cabinet or, do one thing or the other for him. Now, let's go through the video. First, please, if you know say you're there in a hurry, skip this video, please, right? Because we want to talk with empirical evidence and facts, okay? I saw people making videos and saying Peter will be packed for 30 minutes. That is a total lie. You see, when God wants to expose you, you go make the mistake to talk the truth even without you knowing. So the video Festus Keyamo posted on his page, now video where they get from the airport authority, from the CCTV camera, right? So first, within the time Peter Obi arrived that airport, and when they lock that car, is about 6 minutes. And that's the entire video of what you will see. About 6 minutes and some seconds. Within the time Peter Obi arrived the airport, come out, run, they go. You would see that he was in a hurry. That means he rushed to catch up in flight with whoever that went with him. Till the time they locked that car was about 6 minutes and 21 seconds. Thereabouts. Okay. But the entire incident, so when they make call to say, oh, now me, Peter Obi, please open, let him go, and all of that put together was about 32 minutes. But from the time Peter Obi driver dropped Peter Obi, he go inside, he come back, pick something, go back again, come back, before he can see say they don't lock the car. According to what Festus Keyamo tweeted, was 6 minutes 21 seconds established. So Peter Obi didn't waste 30 minutes parking at that place. Having established this, let us also go further and open our eyes. If you are watching the video now, you would see that after Peter Obi came down at about 8:28 thereabout and ran in, the driver finally parked about 8:30 and some seconds, went in to give something, came back, went in again. Now, while watching this video, within the time the driver came to pick the second item, whatever he came to pick from the boot, and walked back into the, departure hall to give to them whatever he wants to give to them, watch the guy when lock the car. Watch him from that end of the video. Stand up, the waka they come now. That means all this while, he has been targeting and watching this driver in all of these incidents, okay? So while the driver was going and coming, he saw the driver coming to pick something. They go back, he see him. He quickly rush, come lock the motor in few seconds. So it was not like the driver left that car unattended to for even 6 minutes. No, he was coming to pick something, going back. So it is possible that Peter Obi haven't seen that maybe he doesn't go late to catch his flight. First rush, go first to make himself present. So the people say, I dare here, while the driver tried to sort out every other thing that he needed to pick. Now, for those of you who are used to the airport, please correct me if I'm wrong. If they ever lock your car for airport, it will take time for you to feel who see the talk with them, even say you pay your fine, say you can't come out. But at this point, it didn't even take the driver of Peter Obi 2 minutes to come out from that car, come back before the guy come lock him. From the video we just watched, the guy was coming. He saw him. So in all of this activity, dropping Peter Obi going, the driver picking something, going to give, come back for the second time, pick, go back, everything. 6 minutes, 21 seconds. Bro, we know people for this country when no reach Peter Obi level. they go park their motor there. 10 minutes, 15 minutes. They will discuss. They'll just tip them small thing for that airport. They go to discuss. They go there. So what is the big deal? Why are you lying that Peter Obi spent 30 minutes? Why? The videos are there and they see the timing. And then, please, somebody should help me out. If you watch the video Peter Obi made in that podcast, he said in one of the airports, he stated clearly that he was there having a conversation with the people. You they bring CCTV footage where the man no dey. The man didn't even talk about this issue. He not talk about them. He talked about a different incident where he was having a discussion, one-on-one, they discussed with the people.
I had a case recently at the airport where people who work in the airport came and locked my car. And I said, it's me. The person on the side said, it doesn't care. But I said, look at the cars of other people. And you could see them talking to each other, you know, as if, who is this one? We have divided the country, breeding hatred among us. That's why I keep saying, I want to bring back unity where there's division. I want to show love, compassion, care.
On a the brief footage where he no did it. Like Festus Kiamu, I've watched videos people made about you being their classmate in government college, Ugele, a proud school. How intelligent you used to be. How come you rubbish yourself because of politics and money? Oh, your mind no go. You think say Nigerians foolish, you just come and post and we just let go. No, Nigerians, we are careful with detailing now. We dey spot things out. Is it not a disgrace? So now, so you tell one win case. A man, they tell you incident when he dey discuss with person. You dey talk where he no dey. Now, so Festus Kiamu tell the win case. No, if now so I do this work past you, we are also learned colleague. Because if this is the best of you that you have become a son, I can tell you that I'm better off. If you could not analyze all of this put and together, why will I be surprised when a whole spokesperson to the president, he go post, say very dark man talk waiting and not talk. Until today, by on Nanuga, you not come apologize. You still get mouths, they talk. What's wrong with you guys? How dull can all of you be? How dull? It is clear. So clear. Look at the time. Now you post the video, 6 minutes, 21 seconds. Clearly there. A video where a man was not there. According to you, you say Peter Obi now called them and spoke to them and then they allowed the driver go. But this man is telling you that the incident is referring to, he was there. He was speaking with them. I cannot understand though. Which kind of people, Tinubu? This is my problem. You can't continue to have this kind of dull people in your administration and you think that it is right for many thinking Nigerians with brains to take you seriously. Because of course you can only produce your kind. What a shame. Oh, may the man can't tell you now where and take get that issue. He will not tell you. So if this again happen, when Peter Obi not talk about, we can only imagine many when they happen like that the man is not talking. This is a man that travels like 2, 3 times, 4 times every week. He's on the road, they travel. You know how many things he has encounter. That's what Kiamu, you should do better. You understand? For me, about your man, where I will go to na ipoto in wo sten ya enwe na. Angma when I bana ipoto ye wo ari ipoto wo zarona. Omi momo hokomawe. Omoho omi mo wokomawe. Ifiki go umeruena momo wokomawe. For those of you who don't understand what I've said, this message is to him and every other Yoruba person will understand. Oma vuanware. Àwọn ẹ̀ka wọn nàbọ̀ nòwé jọ̀wọ́ ni wọ́n kó wọ́n nàbọ̀ sẹ́bẹ̀ tán san àwọn ẹ̀kẹ́ níwé ni ọ̀nà nàkọ́ mọ́ àwọn ẹ̀ but no peace and love.
Nigeria's Minister of Aviation, Mr. Festus Keyamo, has now released CCTV footages as well as a strong public statement of his office investigation into an allegations of clamping of Mr. Peter Obi's vehicle at a Nigerian airport. In a very strong public statement, like he did say, on his verified X account, Mr. Festus Keyamo is read to have released a long and lengthy text of public statements as investigations into the event, as well as some CCTV footages on the said date. So, background, Mr. Peter Obi speaking with Chudi on Chudity a couple of days ago in an interview that has now been released publicly, shared that he's been unfairly and unduly attacked, persecuted, and treated by the Nigerian authorities since his declaration to run for office of president since 2023, that he's even scared for his life, and it's not just politics being taken too far for him to be removed from the ballot. Of course, Mr. Festus Keyamo did not take that allegations or that statement very lightly. He went on to investigate it. And from what he has shared, the event or likely event, because Mr. Peter Obi in his own interview, in his own account, did not share anything very private or shared any more detailed information about the event, just on top of it like that. Festus Keyamo is alleging that the event happened at the Nnamdi Azikiwe Airport in Abuja, of course, in the domestic terminal on July the 4th, 2026 at about 8:28 p.m. And then he went on to say that Mr. Peter Obi had arrived at the airport with his police driver. And then, of course, he went to the airport, the driver went in. Timelines, of course, here and there, blah, blah, blah. We'll get all of those details in a jiffy. And then somehow, after leaving the car unattended by airport standards and risk safety measures, you are not supposed to leave your car unattended. Not to forget that he said that the car was parked in a drop-off zone or drop-off area. It means that somebody must be attending to that car at a time, because you are supposed to be picking and dropping off airport users or passengers, or as it were. So, but on that particular day, and for the vehicle of Mr. Peter Obi, it was unattended. And after about 30 minutes of being unattended, airport authorities took the safety measure of clamping the vehicle. That when the driver returned to the vehicle and found that it was clamped, went on to speaking with the airport management and furthermore connected Mr. Peter Obi to speaking with them, and somehow his vehicle was unclamped and allowed to be given back to the driver without him paying anything. There's a statutory 25,000 that's supposed to be paid when the vehicle is clamped. However, Mr. Peter Obi didn't have to pay because he had personally introduced himself to the airport authority, who at the time did not know that the vehicle even belonged to him, not that there were other vehicles there like Mr. Peter Obi had alleged. Festus Keyamo went on to say that there was no political persecution in this matter, and then Mr. Peter Obi is trying to draw this narrative to seek public sympathy. Consequently, Mr. Festus Keyamo has now demanded that Peter Obi must make a public apology for this indictment on dutiful airport staff, and also return to the airport to pay a voluntary sum of 25,000. It's supposed to be fee for leaving the vehicle unattended for a particular period of time at the airport. And so it is expected that Peter Obi does it. In fact, he went on to say that if within 1 week Mr. Peter Obi doesn't fulfill these demands, that the federal airport ban will be permitted to take further actions. However, this is good. Now, first off, it is good enough to see that there is an event to attach to the accusations or the statement of Peter Obi, because a lot of persons have alleged that he's fabricating some of these stories, he's lying, and they are curated, they are created to draw public sympathy. The fact that investigations were done and that we're able to find an event to that effect shows that, in fact, the man has not been lying about every other thing that has happened. Because if we're also able to investigate others, we will find at least one event per all of the statements or references that Mr. Peter Obi had given. However, technically, looking through at the timelines of these particular footages, a few things have been jotted down by very smart Nigerians, and we want answers to these questions. First, according to the timeline from the video you are seeing, the vehicle had arrived at about 20:28 p.m. on the said day, July 4, 2026. The driver parked the vehicle at about 20:30, 2 minutes later. The driver returned to retrieve an item for the vehicle at about 20:32, another 2 minutes later. Then he returned 2 minutes later again at 20:34 to find the vehicle clamped. The duration of this whole activity seems to be 6 minutes, right? Yet, Mr. Festus Keyamo is alleging that it was after 30 minutes later that the vehicle was clamped. And within, experts are saying, within airport safety measure and regulations, every vehicle is allowed at least 10 minutes. 10 minutes. Yet, this vehicle may have been clamped within 6 minutes. However, let's also ask some other very pertinent questions. So it's time to ask Festus Keyamo, what time precisely? Because you were able to pinpoint the time that the vehicle arrived. How come you forgot detailed timelines to the time the vehicle was clamped and to the time the calls were made? We'd like to know what time all of this happened. Then secondly, what is the maximum time allowed for passengers to disembark from vehicle before a violation occurs? What is the maximum time that a driver is allowed, a passenger is allowed to disembark from vehicle before it is said to have violated airport regulations? We'd like to know this. Then if you think it's not enough, I also appeal that a high-powered committee is set up officially to investigate this matter, because it has become something of a national concern. It is even more important than anything else, more important than the 1.3 billion naira that has been taken off the Nigerian budget. So we want a 320-man committee, and then we want NBA, we want NUJ, we want the Nigerian Judicial Council, we want EFCC, ICPC, Code of Conduct Bureau, right? The National Security Advisor Office. We want National Assembly, at least 10 members of the National Assembly, 10 members of the House of Rep. Okay, 10 from the Senate, 10 from the House of Rep. In short, we'll have 10 governors in the committee, at least 320 members. Which other committee am I forgetting? Another very strong parastatal of government. FAN, yes, of course, FAN. We want the APC, the PDP, the NDC, the ADC, the AAC, all of them, 320 member panel to be put together to investigate this matter, and let's get to the bottom, so that if the panel now, at the end of the day, after hearing from all sides of the divide, now find Mr. Peter Obi guilty, he will do the need to apologize and pay the fine, so that we can move on, because this is what is keeping the country behind and making the country not to attain its economic, developmental, infrastructural, and a renewed hope agenda. We are idiots.
Thank you guys for watching. It's just so interesting to see now that the way the country is going and what's happening to opposition, what the country is turning into. But all that we can see at this time is that Nigerians will just continue to fight, continue to put our voices out there to see that we have a better country. Because as it stands now, these guys are bent on destroying everything. They are bent on destroying everything. So no nation is built this way. No country exists. No country runs this way. What we can do is to keep fighting, is to keep speaking, and we hope that someday we're going to have a better country. If you have families out there that have not gotten their PVC and then you live in Nigeria, please let them get their PVC, and let's see where this next election is going to take us, and what comes out of the next election. And until we come your way again, Nigerians, we want to apologize for being away for a little while. I've been volunteering for FIFA. But as much as we have our time, we'll come on here to let Nigerians know what is going on in the country and all that we can do as people to continue to fight for our country. Until we come your way again the next time, please, let's not stop speaking. Let's not stop putting our voice out there. Every country built, American democracy, for example, is 250 years old, and they are doing everything possible to make sure that the country improves every day. America improves every day. So Nigerians, till we'll see you again, do have a wonderful weekend. From our hands here, and we'll say bye. Thank you. See you next time.